When I walked into that basement and found my 6-year-old son standing in the corner, tears streaming down his face, whispering, "I'm sorry I was bad, Mommy." Something inside me didn't just break, transformed. And what I did next, they never saw it coming. This is the story of how I gave my toxic parents exactly what they deserved. My son Ethan was everything to me. At 6 years old, he was small for his age but had this incredible emotional intelligence. Those big brown eyes would search my face, trying to understand the world around him, especially when we visited my parents. I hadn't spoken to them in almost a year, but guilt is a powerful weapon, and they knew exactly how to use it. On Ethan's birthday they called. Not to wish him well, just to deliver an ultimatum. If you want us in his life, you better make the effort. Against every instinct I caved. I told myself maybe grandparenthood had softened them. Maybe this time would be different. I was so wrong. We drove 2 hours to their house, and the moment my father opened the door, he looked right past me to Ethan and said, "That's the boy." Not "Hello, grandson." Not even "Come in." "That's the boy." My mother appeared, clutching a dish rag like a weapon. She squinted at my child and said, "You didn't tell us he was getting chubby." He was 6. A perfectly healthy 6-year-old who had just heard his grandmother call him fat. But that was just the beginning. They had prepared lunch for themselves. When I asked if Ethan could have something, my mother scoffed. "We don't keep kid food lying around." I ended up giving him my apple and half my sandwich. Then I made the mistake of taking a 5-minute shower. When I came back down, the house was silent. No Ethan. No voices. Just emptiness. I searched every room, panic rising like fire in my chest. Finally, I opened the basement door and heard it. A small, heartbroken sniffle. There he was. My baby. Standing in that cold, dark corner. His tiny back hunched, legs stiff. He'd been down there for 2 hours. "I didn't mean to touch the frame, Mommy," he whispered. "I only wanted to see the picture." Picture frame. Slightly askew on the wall. That's what earned my 6-year-old son 2 hours in a basement corner. When I carried him upstairs, my parents were sitting at the kitchen table, eating pie casually like nothing had happened. Why was he in the basement? I demanded. My father didn't even look up. Discipline. My mother wiped her mouth. "He's lucky we let him inside at all. He touched things. He doesn't know his place." That's when I snapped. "He's 6. My father stood up, towering over me like he did when I was a child. "In this house, respect is earned. And your boy, he's just a guest. Start teaching him that before he becomes entitled like you." In that moment, something inside me died. The scared, obedient little girl who spent her childhood apologizing for existing. She was gone forever. I didn't say another word. I carried my son to the car and drove home in silence. That night, as Ethan slept peacefully in our small but warm apartment, I made a decision. They would learn what it feels like to be unwanted, to be uncomfortable, to have someone look at you and decide you're not worth basic human decency. But I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't curse. I would be surgical, precise, devastating. I started mailing them anonymous letters, just their own quotes typed on plain white paper. "He's lucky we let him inside at all. We don't waste food on visitors. Respect is earned and he hasn't earned it." No return address. No explanation. Just their cruelty served cold. After the 3rd letter, my mother called 5 times in one night. By the 6th call, she was sobbing into my voicemail. "Someone is trying to scare us." Next, I discovered they owed money to the local mechanic. My father had stiffed him on labor costs. So I paid their debt in full under my own name. Then I walked into the cafe where my mother held court every Thursday, gossiping with her suburban queen friends. I set the receipt on her table. "I heard you've been stressed lately," I said calmly. "Don't worry. I took care of your debt with Rick." Her face drained of all color. "You what?" I leaned closer. "I take care of what I owe. Unlike you." Then I walked away, leaving her humiliated in front of her entire social circle. My father had this monthly subscription to specialty coffee that came in delicate glass bottles. His retirement gift to himself. He'd brag about it at church like it was his grandchild. Cancelled it. When the company called to confirm, I said, "He won't need comfort anymore. Consider the account closed." But that wasn't enough. I called the local electronics center, posing as my father, and scheduled a donation pickup. The massive TV he bragged about. His precious recliner throne. Even the antique lamp he insisted made the room perfect. All donated. They couldn't even report it as theft because who would believe that someone had systematically dismantled their comfort, piece by piece. A week later they showed up at my door. My mother was shaking. What did we do that was so bad? My father just stared, finally realizing he had no control over me anymore. I let them stand there. Then Ethan walked to the door, looked up at them with those big, innocent eyes and simply asked, "Are you going to make me stand again?" My mother gasped. "No, sweetie, Ethan closed the door himself. I didn't stop him. We walked to the kitchen and made pancakes. Within 2 weeks, their world had crumbled. My mother stopped attending her weekly brunches, too ashamed to face her friends after the debt incident. My father couldn't sit comfortably anywhere in their empty living room. Word spread through their small town about their mysterious troubles. The final blow was a package I sent them. Inside was a photo of Ethan, smiling wide in our modest but cozy living room, holding a drawing that said, "My home is where I feel safe." I included one note. "This is what real comfort looks like. It's not a chair or a screen. It's knowing the people around you see you as human. You made my son feel like trash and called it discipline. Now you sit in silence and call it peace." I never signed it. Months later, I saw them in a community Facebook post. They were volunteering at a local food drive, looking awkward and uncomfortable, holding paper plates. The caption read, "Thank you to our new volunteers, Nora and Thomas, who said they're learning what it means to really serve others." I stared at that photo for a long time. It wasn't redemption. I didn't need that. It wasn't even regret. It was exactly what I wanted. Discomfort. They would never sit comfortably again in a world that used to reward them for cruelty. My revenge wasn't about pain. It was about showing them what it feels like to be stripped of comfort, to have no power, no softness, nothing to lean on when the world gets heavy. They made a child feel like an outsider in his own bloodline. So I made sure they knew what it meant to be truly alone. And in that silence, in that twisted stillness, I found something I never had growing up: peace. Real peace. The kind my son will never have to live without. Sometimes the quietest revenge is the most devastating. They wanted to teach my child about knowing his place. Instead they learned theirs.